Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Big Questions, Small Steps. My name is Amanda and I'm so glad that you could join me today. Today's video is not a fun one by any means, but it is nonetheless very important. Today's video is important to me as someone who's converting to Judaism. It is very important to my amazing boyfriend who is Jewish. It is important to my community as there are people of the Jewish faith. It is important to mankind in general, because when someone is pushed down or treated unfairly, it should cause an uprising in all of us. Today's video is about anti-Semitism. Yeah. So anti-Semitism is basically hatred, acts, verbalizations, stereotypes, and other innuendos that are particularly targeting the Jewish people. They are targeting them because they are a small group, typically, because people don't know much about their community. They're targeting them because they are just unaware of certain situations. And the hardest part is that most times when people say things or do things, they don't even realize that what they're saying and doing is anti-Semitic. And anti-Semitic truly means hatred in actions and deeds, words and deeds, particularly targeting the Jewish people. There is a reason, unfortunately, that every synagogue has security whenever they have services. There is a reason that there are extra precautions taken by Jewish people, whether they wear symbols that reflect their faith or how much they decorate their homes and their living spaces for particular holidays. There is an uneasiness within the Jewish people about drawing attention to themselves because you don't know people's intentions. While it would be wonderful to anticipate that people typically have good intentions, it has been proven time and time again throughout history that that is not the case when it comes to people of the Jewish tradition. In the United States of America, where I live, it's estimated that the Jewish population is roughly 2% of the population. However, that small number receives over half of violence towards them throughout the states, throughout the country. In fact, last year, 4 out of 5 people who are Jewish reported anti-Semitic actions or remarks made against them, whether in person, online, in passing, intentional or unintentional. And that's a problem. Growing up, I live in a small town and I didn't know how much anti-Semitism there was. As I began my conversion to Judaism, it was eye-opening and mind-shaking, soul-shaking. The amount of random comments that are made, judgments that are made, because you don't practice or believe what this other person believes. it was really, really sorrow-inducing when I heard my boss essentially make anti-Semitic remarks. Someone that I had looked up to and respected, to make comments like that just degrade you to a level that you can't comprehend as a Christian, because you don't have to endure it. Gratefully, I'm glad that you don't have to endure it. But to think that these are just commonplace thoughts and ideas that should go by unchecked is not something that we can stand by as a people. It's not something that's okay. And with the current conflict in Israel with Palestine, those comments and the threats of violence are only increasing. It is terrifying and anger-making that my amazing boyfriend has had people who have threatened his existence, that the community members that I have grown to love and know have been enduring side comments and slandered business deals and just outright refusals to engage from their families. It's heartbreaking to a level that I can't stand. So I need to do a better job of standing up and speaking out. And I feel, quite honestly, that everyone needs to do that. As the adage goes, if you see something, say something. That has new meaning to me. I'm no longer letting side comments like, oh, they Jewed you down, or, oh, you're Jewish, oh, you know, they have all the money. No, I'm not letting that slide. I'm not giving you the pass for being naive and ignorant about these facts and stereotypes that you're spreading. It's not helping me, it's not helping my community, and it's also not helping you. So here and now, I make my stand that I stand with the Jewish people. And if there is anti-Semitic remarks made in my presence, to me, about other people, whatever, I will stand with them and I will call you out on it. Now, I can still be respectful, as every person should be. However, when people say, aren't you just being overly sensitive? No. Because just because the population of the Jewish people is 2% in the United States does not mean that they are lesser of a people. It does not mean that they deserve any less respect. If you would not say whatever comment it is about any other race, ethnicity, religious background, whatever, if you wouldn't switch the word Jew or Jewish for a different one, then you should not say it. You just should not. We have too much information available to us for us to continue being blind to the fact that we are hurting each other at an alarming rate. Ignorance is no longer a valid excuse. So I will do my best to educate anyone that I encounter. And I came across a great resource because as I was in the conversion class, Judaism 101, there was a chapter in that book on anti-Semitism. And basically the book talked about how the Jewish people have been persecuted throughout all time. Typically when people say anti-Semitism, the first thing they think of is the Holocaust. And the Holocaust was a horrible, tragic time in the Jewish people's history. But that is not the only time that they have been persecuted. And they continue to be persecuted. There are bombings and mass shootings at synagogues across the United States. In previous years, there have been multiple. There are comments that are made to me, even in my small town, that happen on a regular basis. They're just not okay. And it's not okay to be treating people like that. I will not stand for it anymore. So I found a great resource. I will link it in the description below, but it basically has ways that you can advocate against anti-Semitism at your workplace, at your home, in your children's schools, in your workplace. I think I listed that already. But there's a lot of different ways that you can incorporate awareness, building awareness of anti-Semitism and how to speak up against it. And then in that same resource, it also had specific suggestions as to how to educate and essentially flip the script when you encounter anti-Semitism. Because if you are someone who is on the conversion path, or you are Jewish, or you know someone who is Jewish or on the conversion path, unfortunately, you're going to encounter some of these. You're going to encounter some of these people who have either harsh feelings towards Jewish people or misconceived notions and ideas. And the way to stop the spread of hate is to acknowledge that what they're doing is not okay and educate them. You have to confront and you have to educate. Just letting it pass is not going to solve anything. Okay? So here are the suggestions that are offered on the website. And again, I thought they were fantastic. The first suggestion is if someone says an anti-Semitic remark, just turn them on it. Turn that question on them and say, what do you mean by that? Because people are typically saying things because they've heard them somewhere and they may not know. What do you mean by that is a gentle question that basically spins it, and it's no longer poking at you. It's shining a light on their judgments, helping them develop that awareness of their prejudice. Because if you don't have an awareness, you will only foster it, and that's not okay. The next one is to assume good intent. I have this tendency to think the best of people, and frequently it comes back to bite me in the butt. But you think the best of people and you give them credit for that, but then you have to educate. So an example of this would be, I know you didn't mean any harm by saying this, but what you said hurt, and here's why. Acknowledge that they're a good person, acknowledge that they may not have intended to hurt you, but inform them. Again, because if you just let it slide, they're not learning and no one is receiving any change because of that. Okay? The third thing is to interrupt and then redirect. So basically, if someone is saying some wild anti-Semitic remark like, oh, the Jews own Hollywood, it's just crazy, wild notions that you don't have the time nor energy to entertain. Sometimes people say things just to be dramatic, and their suggestion is just shut it down. Literally just put your hand up and say, let's not go there. Or walk away. Let them sit with what they just said. And it may be harsh, but that may be the only way some people learn. Okay. The fourth idea is to broaden it to human behavior. So if they're making judgments about stereotypes or characteristics, or, oh, they're greedy, or, oh, they have curved noses, or, oh, they're fast runners, or whatever, broaden their awareness. Make a comment such as, I think that lots of people have this quality. I think a number of people are frugal. I think having a large nose is quite common in many different ethnicities, races, and backgrounds. I think being protective of your home is common in many places, not just Judaism. Helping them gently see that making those stereotypes are not helping anyone, okay? Informing, always a good thing. The fifth idea was to make it individual. So basically spinning anything, if someone would make a comment, you basically turn it around with, were you speaking of someone in particular? Because it makes that person think and be aware of that they are generalizing a character, an attribute, whatever, to a whole group of people. Well, I am not officially Jewish yet. I'm still on the conversion path. I am different than my amazing boyfriend and how he reacts. And he is different than his amazing friends who also happen to be Jewish. And they are different than my amazing boyfriend's extended family who happen to be Jewish. They're all individuals. So if someone is making a general broad comment, flipping it on them and saying, are you speaking of someone in specific? That makes them just kind of take a step back and be like, oh, raise their awareness. Raise their awareness, because that's the only way we can combat this hate. And then the last one, it is the most, I consider it the most passive-aggressive form. It's basically if someone says something, just to say, ouch, that hurt. And then sidestep. Because you're not doing any educating. You're raising their awareness and informing them that what they're saying is not okay, but you're not taking that next step to inform them as to why what they did is not okay. So that's the easiest way to do it, but it's not my personal preference, because there's an awareness level that needs to happen, but there's also an education level that needs to happen, because anti-Semitism needs to stop. This is not okay. And I will forever stand with the Jewish people and support them in being able to live a free and happy life, free of torment, free of bias. No one deserves that. And it's time we as a society stand up for our Jewish brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining me today. Bye-bye.